Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at GrustasBrady on X. You can follow me there, and today I'll be going over all the biggest news and notes from training camp this weekend. We've got roster moves, we've got injury news, we've got practice notes, all the latest. There is a ton of news in today's episode. There was no practice on Saturday, but there are still plenty of stories from both Friday and Sunday to cover. And stick around until later in the show where we will get back to our roster ranking series. We're getting closer and closer to the end now. Before we begin, go ahead and subscribe down below, leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get into it. So on Sunday, according to Adam Schefter, the 49ers signed cornerback Eli Apple to a one-year deal. Now, Apple is a longtime veteran entering his 10th year in the NFL. He was a former top 10 pick by the Giants who has bounced around the league as of late. Notably, he played for the Cincinnati Bengals when they made the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Apple's certainly not the best player in the NFL, and he's got kind of a negative reputation, but we could certainly use him on this team, and we'll get further into this later in this episode, but the Niners cornerback room could use a bit of a boost, so this is likely addressing that situation. The depth at corner is not exactly excellent, although I do like the top four. Apple is going to come in and likely compete for that fifth cornerback spot against guys like Dallas Flowers and Jacob Robinson and Trey Avery. According to my roster rankings, as I have it, I'd rank Eli Apple 63rd overall on the Niners roster, below Austin Pleasance, but above Connor Colby. That's kind of where I'd put Apple on this team. We definitely don't want to see Apple starting this year, or really ideally playing much at all, if he even makes the team in the first place. But that was the latest signing. On Monday, which is when this video should be releasing, the 49ers will have their first padded practice of training camp, which is super exciting. It's going to give us a much better look at the offensive and defensive linemen and how they are performing so far in camp. To me, this is really when we get to see who's taking a step forward, who's falling a little bit behind. But before we get to that, let's recap the last couple days of non-padded practices first. So to start, we had a couple of injuries over the weekend. Jawan Jennings did not finish Sunday's practice after dealing with a calf injury. We do not have a timeline yet on Jennings' potential return. Defensive lineman Teron Jackson had a really scary moment on Sunday as well. He injured his neck and had to be carted out of practice on a stretcher. According to Kyle Shanahan, Jackson was conscious and able to feel all of his extremities, so hopefully he avoided a really serious injury. Neck injuries are always super scary. Praying for Teron Jackson, hoping he's okay going forward. Kyle Shanahan also said that Renardo Green will be out for a couple of weeks after he tweaked his hamstring on Friday. Now, Renardo Green had a really great practice on Friday. It was his best practice yet, but unfortunately he did come down with that hamstring injury. They are expecting Renardo to be back before joint practices with the Raiders start. That would be the week of August 11th. Now, Jacob Cowing is on the same timeline as Renardo, meaning both of those second-year guys are going to be missing the first week of preseason against the Broncos. Sounds like both of these injuries are pretty minor, and they should be back without any complications by Raiders week. Speaking of that 2024 draft class, Ricky Pearsall was activated off the PUP list on Sunday, as we expected, and he was practicing in full. His first catch of training camp was a touchdown from Brock Purdy. Moving into the notes on the offense now, Brock missed Friday's practice for personal reasons, but he was back on the field on Sunday. Everyone close to the team said that it was really nothing to worry about, and of course Brock did come back and looked just fine. Mac Jones took the first team reps on Friday while Brock was out, and the defense had its best performance of training camp so far, I'll put it that way. Both Mac and third-string quarterback Tanner Mordecai have dished out a couple of interceptions so far in camp, but they've each been making a couple nice plays as well. Some offensive standouts from the weekend include Braden Willis, who's been a much better pass catcher in camp this year. Isaac Guerendo looks as fast and as quick as ever, but maybe my biggest surprise on offense so far has been Russell Gage. Gage has been playing fantastic so far in training camp. He's been making plays every single day. Now, with all the question marks and injuries at wide receiver, this team needs a reliable veteran, okay? Especially if Jennings misses any real time. Many people, including some commenters on this channel, think that the team should go add Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper to fill that role, but if Gage keeps playing as well as he has, there's a chance they've already got their reliable veteran. At this point, my best guess is that the Niners are going to keep Pearsall, Jennings, Cowing, Jordan Watkins, and Russell Gage on their initial 53-man roster while they wait for Ayuk to get healthy and Robinson to return from his eventual suspension. Now, speaking of Jordan Watkins, he's been getting some punt return duties while Jacob Cowing is out. His fellow rookie Junior Bergen is also getting in on those chances, as well as Ricky Pearsall. You may have forgotten, but coming out of college, Ricky Pearsall was a pretty sweet punt returner. Didn't get used very much in that role last year, obviously, given he missed the early part of the season with the gunshot wound, and Jacob Cowing was taking over that punt return spot. We'll see what happens when Cowing returns, but right now it's just interesting to keep an eye on who's been handling the punt return duties for this team. Nick Zakelj and Matt Hennessy have each been impressive at offensive line, but they'll have some more competition once Ben Bartch comes back. And that should be very soon. On Sunday, Bartch was going through a pretty intense workout on a side field, and it looks like he's getting close to a return. Offensive tackle Andre Dillard, who's also currently on the PUP list, was seen working out on the side field as well. Onto the defense now. My biggest story, in my opinion at least, is Mykel Williams. Apparently, he has been a force to be reckoned with, especially when he's lined up as a defensive tackle. I mean, we heard it from Kyle Shanahan on draft night. They love what Mykel can do to guards and centers in this league, and it looks like we're going to be seeing him lined up on the inside quite a bit, especially on passing downs. Keep an eye on how Mykel performs once they put pads on, because like I said at the top of the show, that's really when we get to see who's doing well with the offensive linemen and the defensive linemen. With Renardo Green out, the Niners have been experimenting with some different combinations at corner next to Diamador Lenore. Sometimes it is Trey Brown on the outside and Upton Stout in the slot, and sometimes Brown slides into the slot and Dallas Flowers is on the outside. And now that the Niners have brought in Eli Apple, I think it's worth wondering whether Eli will work into those situations as well. The Niners love their versatile defensive backs, and these reps for Trey Brown in particular should pay off once the regular season gets here. I think we certainly see Trey Brown play a little bit of inside corner, a little bit of outside corner. As we know, Diamador Lenore did the same thing for quite a long time. Anyways, back to the safety room now. Jair Brown had a nice pick, and Jason Pinnock had a would-be sack on Friday, both of those going against Mac Jones. On Sunday, Richie Grant led up a touchdown in coverage to Isaac Guerendo running with the second-team defense. Grant is starting to lose a little bit of steam in the safety competition, but putting the pads on will hopefully be a nice reset for Grant. He's always been more of a thumper, box safety type anyways, so hopefully he'll get to show his strengths a little better when you can really hit. Jacob Robinson, the undrafted free agent corner, has been excellent, especially this weekend's practices. On Sunday, he actually broke up a pass for Ricky Pearsall in the corner of the end zone. Now, with Eli Apple coming in, Robinson is going to have a little bit more competition, but he certainly is a threat to make the 53-man roster. The Tatum Bethune, Nick Martin, and Jalen Graham also each had their moments at linebacker, and that depth linebacker competition is really starting to heat up. And finally, your kicking updates. On Friday, Greg Joseph was not great, went 2 for 4, and Moody was 3 for 4. And on Sunday, Greg Joseph was a perfect 4 for 4, while Moody was once again 3 for 4. And notably, on Sunday, both Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were standing right next to the kickers as they competed. So clearly, we're not the only ones watching. Nick Bosa is not the only ones watching. Kyle and John are taking an interest in how this kicker competition shakes out. And from everything that I've been hearing from beat reporters and content creators who are there at training camp, this is a legit competition. This is not some sham competition to kind of boost Jake Moody's morale. This is legit. Whoever kicks better is going to win the job. So that is your weekend training camp recap as we are finally on to the padded practices. I'm really hoping that Ben Bartch can return soon because, to me, two of the most interesting stories in all of camp are the left guard competition and the emergence of Mykel Williams. I want to see Barch. I want to see Zakel, Hennessy, all the guards. I want to see them matched up against Mykel Williams. And I want to see who performs the best, who performs the worst. How does Mykel look? How do these guards look? I think this is such an iron sharpening iron type of moment. And I can't wait to see them once they put those pads on. Who do you think is going to be the week 1 starting left guard for the 49ers? And how many sacks do you think Mykel Williams has this year? Let me know in the comments down below. Switching gears a bit now, we had a pretty fun story come in this weekend. Wide receiver Gabe Davis came right out and said that he'd love to play in San Francisco. On the Up and Adams show with Kay Adams last week, Davis talked about his visit with the 49ers earlier this summer and said it was awesome. He said, quote, "San Fran is definitely a spot I'm looking at. Shanahan's the man. He knows how to call an offense. They just got a lot of great weapons around there." End quote. Now, obviously, he called it San Fran, so not the greatest impression for 49ers fans, but that's okay. That's easily correctable. Clearly, Davis wants to be a 49er, right? But obviously, he's not yet. If the Niners were as impressed by Gabe Davis as he was by them, I think he'd probably be signed by now. Davis visited the 49ers in the middle of May, and since then, the team has signed 3 wide receivers, being Malik Knowles, Equanimeous St. Brown, and Quintez Cephas. Notably, none of those guys are Gabe Davis. If the Niners are forced to keep adding receivers due to these injuries, then I'd have to imagine that Davis is on their list of guys to bring in, along with, the Keenan Allens and the Amari Coopers of the world. But if they'd rather bring in Quintez Cephas than Davis, there's got to be some sort of holdup. This is definitely a story to watch as the summer continues, so subscribe to get all the latest updates with Gabe Davis and the 49ers. Do you think the 49ers should sign Davis, or should they go get Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen? Comment down below. Now, folks, we are back with the 49ers roster ranking series where we learn just a little bit about each of the players on the Niners roster leading up to the preseason and week 1. We are over halfway through this series now, and today's group of 10 players are mostly guys who should play some sort of impact on game days. These are for sure contributors, and let's get started with number 39. Where I have cornerback Trey Brown, who I think is going to play quite a bit for this team. We talked about it earlier in the episode. We're seeing it already in training camp. Brown has experience playing inside of the nickel spot as well as on the outside. And I'm expecting Deommodore Lenoir to play mostly outside this year. So someone is going to have to take over those slot cornerback spots. And it looks like right now that Brown is the clear front runner. He's a former Seattle Seahawk. He was brought in this year in free agency. He started 13 games in his career, but he's been a valuable depth player. Brown is ideal for that third cornerback role, a guy who can play both inside and outside, step up in case of an injury, and, play well enough. I'm not expecting a Pro Bowl year or anything, but you need guys like Brown to fill the gaps and be solid if you want to win games. At number 38 is linebacker Luke Gifford. Now, Gifford is a special teams ace entering his 7th year in the league, playing previously for Dallas and Tennessee. Last year, Gifford had to play more defense than he ever has at the NFL level, starting 4 games for the Titans, while still playing most of the special teams snaps. I think he's going to have a similar role for the 49ers, playing mostly special teams, but stepping in at linebacker in case of an injury or a surprise benching for one of the team's younger players. 37 now is the apple of Kyle Shanahan's eye, if you will. Michael McCorkle Jones, a.k.a. Mac Jones. Crazy name, by the way. Now, obviously, I'm being a little sarcastic with the Shanahan comment, but clearly the team liked Jones enough to bring him in this year. Jones is a solid backup, in my opinion. He really impressed his rookie year before losing his starting job and being traded to the Jaguars. Jones has not been very good as a starter, but he's a scheme fit with a solid arm, some good tools, and he's pretty solid, I guess. He's not the worst quarterback in the league. Can he be the next QB to rehab his image in San Francisco? I mean, we saw it with Darnold. Why not Mac Jones, right? We'll have to see. At number 36, I've got offensive lineman Spencer Burford. Now, Burford was a pretty highly touted recruit coming out of college, but he chose UTSA, where he played left tackle. He played well, but his appeal was that he was an athletic ball of clay who needed a little bit of development. He was drafted by the Niners in the 4th round and started immediately at right guard. He hasn't been very good at guard in his NFL career, just hasn't put it all together, But this offseason, he's moving back to his college position at tackle, and he's the front runner for that swing tackle job. Burford has had to play quite a bit for this team, and if he can become either the ultimate backup or even a potential starter at tackle, this development is finally going to pay off. Number 35 now, it's the punter, Thomas Morstead. There's not a ton of recognition that you can give a punter, but Morstead has been a mainstay in this league for a very long time. He's a former Pro Bowler, former second team All-Pro, and he has just an unreal amount of experience, over a decade in this league. Morstead joined the 49ers this year to reunite with former coordinator Brant Boyer. Now, I mentioned this earlier on in a video past, but Morstead has played over 250 games in his NFL career, and he's only missed 5. Yes, I know, punter isn't exactly the super physical position, right? But compared to former Niners punter Mitch Wishnowsky, Morstead is an Iron Man. Coming in at number 34 now is edge rusher Yetur Gross-Matos. He's a former second rounder from Penn State who played most of his career with the Panthers before joining the 49ers last year. Gross-Matos had a bit of a weird year. 4 sacks as a rotational edge rusher, which is pretty good, but he had 3 of those sacks in a single game. He also had 3 tackles for loss in that game against the Bears. His consistency was just not good enough, but Gross-Matos has all the tools required to take over a game, clearly. Unfortunately, he's currently on the PUP list, but he is projected to be a part of the D-line rotation again this year. Now, number 33 is tight end Luke Farrell, who's going to be one of the more underrated contributors on this team, in my opinion. Farrell's a blocking specialist, and I think he'll be playing the biggest role of his career for the 49ers as the backup tight end. He may get involved every once in a while in the passing game, but, Farrell's job primarily is going to be line up next to Colton McKivitz or Trent Williams sometimes and seal off the edge for the running back. Just seal the edge. I think the Niners are going to run a lot more heavy personnel, especially early in the season this year, and I expect Farrell to be a huge part of that shift, hopefully boosting the Niners' efficiency in the run game as well. At number 32, I've got wide receiver Jacob Cowing. Now, Cowing, I've been very honest on this channel. He's a personal favorite of mine. I love Cowing's game. He was absolutely nasty coming out of Arizona, and he showed a few flashes last year as a rookie. He took a while to adjust to the NFL game, both mentally and physically, and he's currently dealing with a hamstring injury. But once he's back, I think the door is wide open for Jacob Cowing to make a real impact on offense this year. He's bulked up, he's still wicked fast, and he's gotten a lot of praise from both offensive coordinator Clay Kubiak and Kyle Shanahan. If Cowing can stay healthy, watch out. And at 31, I've got defensive tackle Kevin Givens, who very well may start for the Niners this year. Givens has been with the team for a while now. He signed as an undrafted free agent all the way back in 2019. He's really developed into an impactful backup D tackle who shows some juice as a pass rusher. But this year, he's going to need to take another leap with all the opportunities available at defensive tackle. The big question with Givens, for me at least, is how is he going to hold up against the run? He's only 285 pounds, and at that weight, you're going to be lighter than every offensive lineman you play against. And it's one thing to flash coming off the bench, but if you're battling to stop the run every single play, that wears on your body. Hopefully, Givens can rise to the occasion and be a full-time starter for this 49ers team. Last player for today, number 30, I'm going with safety Jason Pinnock. Now, Pinnock is a Connecticut native like myself. Shout out to Connecticut. He played his college ball at Pittsburgh before being drafted in the 5th round by Robert Saleh and the Jets. Now, Pinnock had 2 forced fumbles in his rookie year before leaving the Jets and joining the New York Giants. He had a breakout year with the Giants in 2023, but struggled quite a bit in 2024. Pinnock signed with the Niners this offseason, reuniting with Robert Saleh, and he's definitely going to have the chance to win the starting safety job. In my mind, Pinnock is the best safety on this roster until Malik Mustafa comes back healthy. So he's got to produce if this defense wants to return to their dominant ways. That's all for today, folks. Lots of updates from this weekend. What do you guys think of the Eli Apple signing? Who's standing out to you in training camp? And how high am I allowed to rank a punter on this list? Am I allowed to go higher than 35 for Thomas Morstead? Let me know down below. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know if there's any topics you'd like to see me cover. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe for 49ers videos 5 days a week. I'm Brady Grustas, at Grustas Brady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I'll see you tomorrow.